Hey YouTubers, I got a little video here for you. Just hooked my spring up to my tank, and as you can see, it works. It's all spring water coming out of there. It's not as much as I hoped for, but it's plenty, and definitely a lot more going in than there is coming out of the system, so it'll fill it up, and I'll have to figure up some way to put a little valve on there to stop it so I can stop it and start it whenever I want to. But as you can see, it's going through my little drainage ditch under the greenhouse. Runs down alongside the greenhouse. Here's some of the progress. Everything's growing away, and excuse the mess because still in the middle of construction. But we're gonna take a little field trip today and show you where the springs are at. So runs all the way down there, and all this hose that I got, it was hooked up to the spring. There's actually a few generations of hoses coming down from that spring because the people that originally homesteaded this place, that was their only running waters. They came off the spring. So here we go. So some of this hose is pretty old, but I mean, it's still in decent shape because it was just running up through the mountain, and a lot of foliage and stuff covered it up and kind of protected it from the elements. But so I had to go up the mountain and do a little bush hogging, and had to make a lot of patches like this one in the hose, and just kind of piece everything together. Took the air hose or the air tank, and there's a patch too. And I used chewing gum and duct tape. Worked pretty well. There's a couple dual patches. Some of the patches were already on there, so I just left them. And like I said, I blew the hoses out, made sure they weren't clogged up, and hooked them up. So we're pretty good distance so far. I'm not sure the total distance, but a couple 100 yards, I reckon. Here's the end of the spring, and so from here up the rest of the way is what was there before. This is where I was filling up my water tanks and rolling them down the hill there. There's the black raspberry bushes right there. This is another little raised garden bed that we were doing. Found this big red hose up there, but it didn't want to work for me. So, plus it's a giant red hose. I mean, the other one you can't even hardly see it. But had to kind of clear all this out. Had a little hand weed trimmer or whatever, bush hogger, whatever you want to call it. Came through here and saw that this big giant tree had just recently fell and went right over top of the spring. Fortunately, it doesn't touch right where the spring goes under, or the hose that is. So that was pretty lucky. Yeah, you gotta be careful around here. A lot of trees ready to fall. Here's some hoses. I mean, there's just generation after generation of hoses ran up and down this little mountainside here. Over the years, I guess one would clog up or something, but I've recycled a lot of them and they still work. So Got to save a lot of money on hoses. Here's another spot I had to patch up, and it looks like it's still leaking pretty good there. So yeah, we'll have to patch that up again to really get a good seal. You get leaks in there, and we'll get a nice steady flow. This looks like it could be leaking too. Maybe. Oop. We got dogs coming after us. We're almost there. I think so. Hard to tell sometimes in these woods. Oh yeah, I had to come through here and beat this log apart and drag it out of the way. Kind of reroute the spring there. But I ran it alongside that log, so hopefully any other trees fall on it, it won't kink it. And it runs through a couple briar patches here. There's another old hose. And runs that way. All the way to here. And this is pretty much where the magic happens. Got the intake pipe pretty much right there under all that. And that's the spring hole where the mouth of the spring, where all the water comes through and goes in the intake there. And under this bit of concrete here, they kind of concreted a pipe in here originally a while back. And then into this bucket and down the hose. And when it rains, it pours. And I mean, that bucket will fill up, and that hose at the other end will be gushing water. So it's rained recently, but can't say a whole lot. So it's just kind of trickling, but I mean, it'll trickle all year. Here we are in beginning of July. Tomorrow's the 4th of July. And we still got water, so good to go, good to grow. I hope you enjoyed this little field trip up the mountain and checking out the spring and all that. And stay tuned for more videos. Thanks, guys.